Mr. B, how's everybody doing? We're going to do a new little project today. You can get all these supplies at the local Walmart or Amazon or wherever you shop, Giant Fabrics, places like that. So you can put it in an order to get this. This is one that we do during the summer camps. If you've ever gone to Mr. B's art camps, this is one that we like to do there. And we're going to start with a tie-dye kit. Okay, it's not super expensive. There's enough dyes here to do several shirts. I think it even says right here you can dye up to 36 different projects. We like to use a little bit more dye in ours, so we probably won't be able to get 36 out of it. But this is how you start. This kit does not come with this, but some do. This is called soda ash. Okay, this is called soda ash. Here's our bucket. We use this for hydro dipping. You can see the inside, but that's all dry, so it's not going to matter. What we do is we take the soda ash after we fill up the bucket, and we pour the soda ash into the bucket. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to stir that up in a minute, and we'll let that sit for a few minutes, and then we'll stir it up again. And then we take the shirts that we're using. We've got a couple different kinds, some long sleeves, some short sleeves, some sweatshirts. And we put them into the bucket with the soda ash and let them soak for about 15-20 minutes. That soda ash kind of opens up the fiber so it accepts the dye. So that instead of it kind of being like a tie dye that's a little bit weak, it'll look stronger and have more vibrancy and brightness to it. Okay, so we're gonna start to stir that up and put the shirts in, and I'll get back to you in a minute. Hey, we're back. We've got our t-shirts in the soda ash. I forgot to mention, if you noticed in the little video, I was wearing these gloves. That's because the soda ash, once it's mixed with the water, isn't great for your hands. I've never had a problem with it. I've never had any itching or anything crazy happen, and I usually just do it with my hands. Just wash them when you're done if you didn't use gloves. But you are going to want to use these fingers are stuck here. You are going to want to use these gloves when you do the tie-dye, because your hands will get the dye all over them, and it doesn't wash out right away. It takes a couple days. So in the past, if you were at our camp, you know that Mr. B had green hands or blue hands for a couple days. It's because sometimes I forget to put my gloves on, it gets all over. Also, you don't want to wear your best clothes, okay? Because you are probably going to get messy, and you'll probably get a little bit of the dye on your clothing. And so you don't want to do that. I also forgot to mention storage bags. These big ones are kind of important, okay? Because when you're done doing your dyeing, you want to put them in here and let them sit. I like to let them sit a whole day, overnight, get up the next day and then rinse them out and then wash them. You don't have to do it that long, but the longer that you leave them inside the baggie or with the dye on them, the more colorful they will be. Rubber bands. This is how we get different designs, by wrapping up the shirt, putting rubber bands on them wherever the rubber band is. That's usually where the shirt will kind of stay white. It's also a good kind of dividing marker where you can tell where you can mix colors. There's all kinds of different ways to do this. It's experimental. As you can see on the cover, they've got all kinds of different types that you can do. Sometimes it works great. Sometimes maybe you take it out of the wash and it's not your favorite design. But you can always have success no matter what you do, just as long as you pay attention to a few simple rules, and we'll talk about them in a minute. Thanks. We opened up the tie-dye kit. Comes with kind of like a tablecloth. I already have one, so I'm just going to save this till later. If it's windy out, you're going to want to put something on it to hold it down. It does come with rubber bands. These are pretty sturdy too. These will work fantastic for you. It does also come with some gloves. Sometimes these gloves are a little bit big for people, so that's why we use these ones. And then it's going to come with directions. A sheet that tells you how to do each kind of shape. The spiral, if you wanted to do an ombre, the crumple, so on and so on and so on and so forth. Okay, the bullseye and the sunburst. So even if we don't go over everything, if you buy one of these kits, it'll have directions and things on it for you to understand so that you can make the different shapes. This is one of the dyes. There's a little bit of powder in there. I don't know if you can see that. Okay. We're just gonna add warm water to it, fill it up to about that mark right there, almost all the way up. Shake it up with the lid on, and then these will be ready to go. So we got to do that to all these, so it's going to take a few minutes. So we're going to go do that now, and then when we're done, we'll come back and we'll continue. We've got our dyes ready. We added water to the fill line. Put your finger on top, shake them up. Make sure all the powder's off the bottom. There's still a little bit right there, so we'll have to shake it up a little bit more. And then these shirts, these have actually been sitting in there plenty of time. They've actually been in there longer than 20 minutes just because we're doing other things. But you want to take them out and you're going to need to wring them out. The shirt can be wet. It actually works better when it's wet, but you don't want it soaked. So I try and wring it out as good as I can before we start to tie dye. Now if you look at this, there's already some dye from before. That's actually on the back, I think, but there's some green here. So if I go to lay down my shirt and the surface isn't clean, it's gonna get on the sweatshirt or the t-shirt that you use. So we bring out some paper towels, and in between each shirt, we're gonna wipe it off and then throw that out, keep it out of the way. Got my gloves on, got our dye, wring out the shirts, and we're ready to go. Okay, so it's wrung out. We cleaned off our tablecloth, our little tarp here. There was a little bit of dirt on it, so we had to wipe it off a little bit. We've got our rubber bands ready. Ignore the spray paint, it's just here to hold the tablecloth down so it doesn't blow away. Now you have several choices of what you could do. You can do what's called the crinkle, which is kind of just going like this. Or the crumple. I don't know if they call it the crinkle or the crumple. I think it's the crumple. Then you're going to take your dye and just squirt whatever colors you like on it. That's one way of doing it. It's actually a pretty popular one with the kids these days. You could do the spiral, which is kind of the classic one that you might see in old 70s shows or movies, or maybe grandma and grandpa, mom or dad have a picture of them back in the day. You kind of go like that. Then what you do is you take the rubber bands. So I made my spiral. Then I take the rubber bands and I kind of turn it into almost like the shape of a pie. And this is actually going to help me to see the sections to put my colors on. So if you see that classic rainbow spiral, this is how we do it. Then we would put a color here, 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 and a color here. So that's what we're going to do with this one right now, just so you can see how it goes. So that's why the rubber bands are important. They kind of give you separation. If you make the rubber bands even tighter, you'll have a little bit more of a space where the ink won't get in because it's squeezed too tight for the ink to get in. But this one's fine to get started, just to at least show you what we're going to do. So we're going to do that now. All right, so we did one side. I did kind of a rainbow. I'm not too much of a rainbow guy, but I just wanted to show you this is kind of that classic look. So we did one side of it. This is a part that you can decide to do yourself. But if you do this, what you want to do is when you pick it up and turn it over to do the back, if you see, the back doesn't really have any dye on it, okay? So one side of the shirt is going to have more dye than the other right now. If you want both sides of your shirt to have the tie dye, you're going to turn it over. See how I'm wiping this up? I'm cleaning this part of the table up because I don't want to put the orange on top of a blue or the green on top of a red to make a brown color. So now I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to go back and use those colors on the back. So I'm going to put orange here, yellow here, green here, some dark blue, some light blue, and some red, just to even it out so the shirt is double-sided. And then we're going to throw it inside one of the Ziploc bags, and we're just going to leave it sit overnight. And tomorrow, when we get up, we'll take it out, we'll take off the rubber bands. I usually spray with a hose for a few minutes, all the shirts, just to get some of the stuff out of it, the ink, or the dye, I mean. And then we throw them in the washing machine. And then after you dry them, you're done. So I'm going to do the back, and then we'll show you what comes next. Open her up. Sit it in. It'll zip-a-loop, doop-a-doop, and you can just sit it all night, okay? Wipe up the section, and on to the next one. Okay, so we did it. As you can see, I had to take my glove off to get some rubber bands on, so I got a little bit on me. This will probably be here for a day or two, even if I wash my hands every day, but it will come off, so don't fret if you get it on your hands. If you get it on your clothes, it's a different story. See, look at my pants. I'm wearing my art pants today. Okay, nothing fancy over here. As you can see, we've got a whole bunch of different kinds. We've got some spirals, we've got some sunbursts, we've got some crinkles, and then we've got a couple that we just experimented with. That's probably my favorite part, is when you just experiment with it. This one, I just laid out the shirt, squirted some stuff on it, and then I took some of that soda ash water and I poured it right over top, and it kind of spread it out. So maybe that'll look cool tomorrow. Maybe it will, maybe not. This is the type of thing, sort of like when we talked about hydro dipping, this is the type of thing you never know exactly what you're gonna get. Now here, when you look at this one, you can see gonna get green and blue for sure, but there's gonna be some whites in there, there's gonna be some mixing of the green and the blue, okay? If you look at one like this, using all kinds of different colors, okay? Sometimes when the colors mix together, you might get a new color in there, all right? Now, on purpose, she didn't put as much as she normally does. If you look at the first one we did, we really doused that, okay? And you can tell by sitting there for a while how it's starting to mix together. Okay, that's why we like to let it sit overnight. Cotton works the best. If you have a synthetic material, doesn't accept the dye as well. So if you have a 100% cotton shirt, it's gonna take the dye really, really well. And also, if you just bought it at the store, instead of coming home and just putting the dye on it, wash it first. There's something called sizing. It's something they put in the shirts so they lay really flat in the store. So when you go there, you're like, wow, even when I fold my stuff, it never looks that good. That's why, because they're sizing it. If you rinse it out or wash it and take out that sizing after your first wash, this will work much better, okay? Who says you don't? Right, so we're gonna let these sit overnight, and then tomorrow we'll take another video and add it to this one to show you exactly what they look like and what we do next, okay? Thank you. We'll see you in about 2 seconds. Okay, so the shirts have been sitting here all night, and hopefully the dye is really soaked in. So the next thing to do is to kind of spray them off. I usually just use a hose. You can put them in your sink if you want and rinse them out. So I'm gonna do that now, and then we're gonna put them in the wash machine, run them through a load, okay?